Hey, how's everyone doing? Let's check out something funny. Something that speaks to me, at least.
You know what women hate when you're arguing? They hate when you tell them to calm down. So now when she yells at me, I say, "Love your energy. Love what you're doing. A little more."
Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Andy Hall. You're watching the show, the morning show, not to be confused with other shows at other times during the day, but this is my morning show. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. That was, of course, comedian Sam Morrill. I'm not a big fighter in relationships. I don't seek out issues. You might find that hard to believe since it seems like I like to argue. It seems like I have maybe some things I like to say, but typically, overall, I just like things to go smoothly. Smoothly. And here's the thing. If your partner tells you that they like to argue, like early on in the relationship, you should really hear that. I've had people tell me that early on in the relationship. Now, my girlfriend, she's wonderful. She doesn't like to argue either. But I've had people tell me who they are, right? Who they are in the world. And I've just kind of glossed over it because of feelings. Yeah. So that was, yeah. Good morning, Jess. Good morning. That seems to be a valid piece of advice. What's up, James Henry? Good to see you. Derek Rose, Tobin, and of course, Critical. All right. What do we got going on for the show today? We got a bunch of news stories, as you can guess from the name of the show, from the title of this episode, and by the thumbnail, is that Fox News. A continuation of the woes of Fox News. We also have the continuation of Steve Bannon's problems, legal problems, and some positive news about vaccines being distributed, and of course, priests. It isn't anything. Yeah, so their priests are a bit in some issues. They have some issues, and not the issues that you're thinking about, the genitalia related issues. There are other issues that might have to do with the genitalia, but I'm getting ahead of myself. What's the question? I was thinking about that, about priests and churches, and it made me wonder, and I don't even know when the last time I was in a church for like a church service. I don't know when the last time any of you were in a church and not a church that was redone into a restaurant or maybe a museum, because sure, I've been in churches that have been turned into museums or restaurants maybe, but I can't remember the last time I was in a church or a temple or mosque for a religious festivity. I think it might have been somewhere maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, when I went to a midnight church service on Christmas Eve. And that was a long time ago. I haven't stepped into a church for a religious service since then. Maybe that's good. I think that's good, right? The last time was a wedding. Right. Well, Brainbug, I could see that. I could see that because at certain stages of your life, all of your friends get married or your relatives get married. Then you got to kind of show up, right? You have to show up. High school, Catholic school. Interesting. Oh, funerals too, right? That's a good point. You see, the thing is, I guess I'm in the sweet zone right now, is the fact that none of my friends are getting married. And even their second marriages, they're doing not in a church. And no one I've been really close to has died. And so I haven't had to go to any funerals. Tobin. Young teenager, well over 30 years ago. That's quite a record, Mr. Templeman. quite a record there. Willie Ignorant, hello, hello. Topic of discussion. The question for the morning was, when the last time you were in a church for a religious service? Before the midnight Christmas service, I know I went to a christening years ago, but that was getting on to like 18 years ago. Jess M says, actually, I think I might maybe a funeral since then, but I generally refuse. Yeah. I find it difficult depending on the denomination. You know, a buddy of mine, his dad died, and there was a service, and they were very religious, like really, like fundamentalist Christians. And I was amazed at the fact that Jesus was mentioned by the preacher man more than the man who died. Right? If you were going to count them up, if you were going to like take little notes on how many times the preacher man mentioned Jesus as against to the man who actually died, Jesus was mentioned more times than not. And I thought that was just shows you how much these fundamentalists just want to jam Jesus down your throat as much as humanly possible. Oh, I love an old cathedral with the gargoyles, brain bug. I do. In case you're ever in the Boston area, there is the Mother Church of Christian Scientists on Massachusetts Avenue. It is a dome on drum construction. It's a beautiful church on the outside. It's a beautiful church on the inside. There's also this very small Gothic-y, Romanesque kind of church attached to it. The Church of the Christian Scientists, founded by Mary Baker Eddy, first made this small stone, Gothic-y kind of, more Romanesque, I guess, church, and then they built this huge dome on drum construction back in the 1920s. And so it's actually two churches you can check out. But if you're ever in the Boston area, it's definitely worth going to. So that's it. Yeah. I've been to the Mother Church probably within the last 2 years, definitely within the last 2 years. But that was more of just a museum for me, just to go check out. I love going there just to, explore the space. Wow. Last time was back in 2002 at your mother's funeral. I've been to Notre Dame. It's been a long time. But I have been there. I haven't been there since the fire. But yeah. Glasgow Cathedral. I went to Glasgow Cathedral 25 years ago. 25 years ago. Yeah, that was a while back. I'm not going to lie to you. That was a while back. All right, everyone. Let's, maybe we should talk about news. Maybe we should talk about good. There's actually a fair amount of good news out there. If you're a Democrat, if you're secular, if you're an atheist, there's good news out there. There's good news, and of course, this good news is at the expense of evangelicals and other conservative types. So let's see what's out there. Let's see what's in the news. Oh no, it's memes first. See, I almost forgot to go with memes. I found this to be funny. All right, this is good. Yeah, so this I found to be, I'm a Rick and Morty fan. I like Rick and Morty, the cartoon series. And we've all seen this meme, but this is a Rick and Morty spin on this particular meme. You and your effing problems are here. It does put things in perspective. It does put things in perspective at times to realize that though your problems may seem overwhelming to you, ultimately, in the large scale of things, it makes me feel better, to tell you the truth. It makes me feel better to know that my problems are small, I guess. That's how I feel that meme does, that image does. How that makes me feel, at least. All right, let's check out the next one. Honey, look, I found some information. All the world's top scientists and doctors missed. I don't think I've used this meme before. It does speak to the anti-vaxxers, the anti-maskers, conspiracy theorists, because the idea that you're on Google or you click on a link onto Facebook and suddenly there's a whole mystery revealed to you, like aliens and lizard people, or what was it we were talking about the pharmacist yesterday who destroyed all those vaccines, who thought the sky was made by the government to keep us separated from God. That's not just clicking around the internet. You're not gonna find that. No. The default setting should be paying attention to the consensus from the top scientists and the doctors. That's typically a better bet than just clicking on that Facebook link and then thinking about lizard people and taking that to heart. Goldie, I think we were at Notre Dame. Well, you were there later than I was. I was there probably back in 92 or so. That's a long time ago. Yeah, Paris is beautiful. All right, and the last one, right? This is about the GameStop, the GameStop issue that's been going on in the market. I'm just going to let it go. Just going to show you guys. Shut up and tell me which stocks to buy to punish rich people. And of course, that's Fry. What was the show he was in? Space-orama? Time-orama? It was something like that. But yeah, shut up and tell me which stocks to buy to punish rich people. And of course, it's the hedge fund managers, the ones who have put shorts on GameStop, on AMC, that everyday retail investors via Reddit have focused on. So if there are any more stocks that I haven't put any money in that because I don't have money to invest right now, everything is away. But if I had extra money, yeah, maybe I would invest in some stocks to punish hedge fund managers. Maybe I would do that. Futurama, thank you, Brainbug. I knew it was an AMA somewhere, right? An AMA. Futurama, Space-orama, but it's Futurama. Thank you. Dude, he did. That was the story. One of the guys, 20-something-year-old dude, I think he was 20 years old, young guy. He used the money he got from GameStop to buy switches for kids in childhood who are in cancer hospitals. Beautiful story. All right. Maybe now. Yes, Jess M. Futurama. All right. Going to go to this news story. What's the first news? It's about Fox News. Now we have talked about Fox News not doing well. Guess what? It's still not doing well. All the descriptions, all the links are in the descriptions, by the way. I got up early enough to prepare the show properly, so links to the stories are in the descriptions. We are lost. Fox News suffers ratings slump while staffers fret about post-Trump future. Fox News, no longer number one. They're not even number 2. We are lost, a Fox News insider remarked to me recently, and there are lots of data points to back up that assertion. Nielsen numbers for the month of January were released on Tuesday, and Fox ranked third in the 3-horse cable news race for the first time since 2001. Furthermore, CNN was the number 1 channel across all of cable. Yes, this is a CNN story, by the way. CNN just loves rubbing it into Fox News' face. Think about it this way. So now we talk about why people are going away from Fox News. Think about it this way. January was one of the biggest months of the political news in a generation, yet Fox couldn't capitalize. Instead of competing by promoting correspondence and putting news coverage front and center, the network prioritized even more outrageous, even more extreme opinion. Tucker Carlson Tonight essentially expanded to Tucker Carlson Day and Night. That may very well prove to be Fox's best bet from a business point of view. Win back a base audience that disdains the news. So Fox's strategy is to appeal to people who hate the news. That doesn't seem like much of a difference from what they were doing before. Win back an audience that disdains the news by ignoring the news and affirming their views 24/7. Makes sense from an economic, if not ethical, standpoint. But for the time being, Fox is floundering in third place, and it's shocking to see. The lack of editorial leadership is palpable, according to numerous sources at the network. And even in its weakened rating state, Fox is reflecting and propelling the radicalization of the GOP. So third place, first place, CNN. Second place, MSNBC. Third place, Fox News. Reporting over pontificating. Here's how the Daily Beast team described Fox's nosedive on Tuesday, signaling a seismic shift in the media landscape as defeated former President Trump hibernates in strangely silent exile at Mar-a-Lago. Fox News' 2-decade-long winning streak came to an abrupt end Tuesday, while rivals CNN and MSNBC claimed the number 1 and number 2 ratings, respectively, in all of cable television. Fox's embarrassing third place showing is the continuation of a downward trend in which right-leaning outlet lost 2020's fourth quarter to CNN and alienated Trump-supporting loyal viewers by calling Arizona early for Joe Biden during the election night coverage. Are conservatives canceling Fox News? Are Trump supporters canceling Fox News? Because you know what the Trump supporters are saying is that they're all for free speech. You know, Ted Cruz is all for free speech. President Trump is all for free speech. But yet, they're the ones who love to cancel people, and they are canceling Fox News right there. Oh, the shame of it. The shame of it. Oh, that's okay, Robert X. You can be muted. Their viewers, well, that's a good point, Negative God. Their demographic is fading away. Fox is losing some viewers because they do not want to be sued. That's right. Well, you know, we have seen that. Let's say Tucker Carlson, right? He was sued, and his court defense was that he doesn't do news. Tucker Carlson's defense in court was that he doesn't do news and he does entertainment. And so, yeah, Fox News down to third place in the ratings. And of course, you have the other crazier news sources, quote unquote news sources, like OAN and Newsmax taking up the slack or stealing the Fox News viewers from them. It was Hannity's defense too. True. And it was Alex Jones. That's the thing with these scumbags, right? That's the thing with these scumbags, conservative scumbags, is that they act like it's news, act like it's news, and then when the lawsuit comes, whether it's Hannity, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, they're like, no, we don't do news. This isn't news. This is like the Psychic Friends Network. Fox News is more like the Psychic Friends Network, which is just for entertainment purposes only. Well, you're right about that, James Henry. Fox is not radical enough for chimpanzees. That's right. So Fox is going to have to either become even crazier, or they're gonna die out. Once again, I've talked about this before. It's like the NRA. The NRA had other gun groups who were crazier than they are. So the NRA had this choice. They had the choice of either becoming irrelevant or getting even crazier and doubling down on the crazy. And the NRA decided that they were going to double down on the crazy. Now they're bankrupt officially, mind you, but that's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. All right. So second story. Who owns Fox now? Is it still the Murdoch people? Was part of the Disney deal? Oh, that's, I think the Disney deal, I think Fox, I think the news itself is its own organization. I think part of the Fox Entertainment, if I do recall what the deal was, I believe elements of Fox that were entertaining went to Disney. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch still owns Fox. All right, next story. Hey, so the vaccine, right? We learned a week or two ago that Donald J. Trump, the federal government, the Trump administration had no idea what to do with vaccines on the federal level. They had no plan on how to disperse the vaccines, leaving the Biden administration with basically having to come up with a plan because there was no pre-existing plan. So, considering the fact that, at least from what I have heard, is that these new variants of COVID-19, especially the British variant, which is highly transmissible, is going to be the prominent strain in starting March, I believe. That, as I recall, Biden is working. He has a plan to disperse more vaccines to more people, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. Biden's administration will ship COVID-19s directly to pharmacies. This is good news. This is, this is good news in the fact that, I'm not going to have to go to Fenway Park, right? Or I'm not going to have to go to a specific center. That I will just, and many of you will just be able to go to your local CVS, pharmacy, whatever it is, and get your shot. Let's check out the story. The Biden administration has announced that it will begin shipping about 1 million COVID-19 vaccine doses a week directly to thousands of pharmacies in an attempt to address equity concerns and speed up the country's crucial inoculation effort. The vaccine sent to pharmacy will be in addition to the millions of doses sent weekly to states, territories, and tribes, and that are sometimes administered by local pharmacies. So Biden is trying to, or the Biden administration is trying to trying to do a surge on these vaccines, trying to get as many out there as quickly as possible. Because the more people we have inoculated, the more people we have vaccinated, the lower the opportunities the vaccine has, or the virus has to mutate. Lower amount of people, the more people without vaccines, the more people who aren't inoculated against the virus, the higher the chance the virus is going to mutate. Which, as an aside, is the reason why less developed countries, poorer countries, should be having vaccines sent to them. Because if we're hoarding vaccines in rich and developed countries, but poorer countries aren't vaccinating their people, that just means the virus will have more chance to mutate. All right, let's see what else. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this story about vaccine distribution. The program will begin on February 11th on a limited basis, with vaccines sent to about 6,500 stores nationwide. Jeff Zients, the White House COVID-19 response coordinator, told reporters on Tuesday. He said that the effort would then scale up and eventually up to 40,000 retail pharmacies, including Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid locations, would receive doses directly from the federal government. So I'm going to go down. And I'll probably call. There's a Walgreens close by to me where there's nobody that ever goes in there. Whenever I go in there, there's very few people. So if I was going to get my vaccine dose, I would go to that Walgreens because of the limited amount of foot traffic that's in there. Because what I don't want is while I'm getting my vaccine shot, I catch COVID. Because there are people there are some cases where people get their COVID shot, they get their vaccine, and then because it takes time to ramp up, it takes time to get your immune system up and running, they catch COVID. I don't want to be one of those people. I don't you guys want to either. Well, James Henry, Trump should be charged with culpable genocide for the COVID deaths of America. Yep. More than likely, hopefully he'll be impeached properly. At least he'll never be able to run again. And hopefully he'll be buried with civil suits. And maybe he'll even get some jail time. That would be nice. Him going, is there a vaccine for religion? Good education, good social safety net. Really, if you have a good social safety net, that does wonders for getting rid of religion. Religions they fester, they thrive in failed states. The funny thing about it, viruses, do well in failed states. They spread like wildfire in failed states. Viruses do, and so does religion. That religion thrives in failed states. So here's the thing. If you have a functioning healthcare system, not only does it limit the religiosity within the nation, within a country, but it also lowers the spread of a virus. How about that? Stupidity can't be cured, perhaps, but I would say it can be mitigated. It can be ameliorated. It can be lessened. And that's all. That's all I try to do with myself, to tell you the truth. I know that there's a certain amount of stupid in my brain, and I just try to keep it managed as much as humanly possible. Good. Thank you, Critical Cripple. AstraZeneca, 22 days until the risk of hospitalization is reduced to near to 100%. So 22 days after I get the vaccination from AstraZeneca, there's a close to zero chance that I'm going to be hospitalized. So that's nice. Goldie Mickens says, I got my first dose Friday at the local VA hospital. That's excellent. In Canada, we can't provide the COVID-19 vaccine due to conservative government decisions over 20 years ago. We are basically screwed and at the end of the queue. That's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that. And 5, ignorance can be healed. Stupid is forever. We were talking about the other day about trying to shift people from extreme positions. Maybe that was yesterday or maybe on Monday. It's about when you're talking with people, asking them about their wacky beliefs, and because what happens, and this is just a throwback, I guess, to our conversation on Monday, is that people who have crazy beliefs do not think them through. So even just asking to explain them a bit makes them think a little bit and makes them less likely to be having a crazy belief. That was from Monday's show. You can check that out. There are like links over on that episode too. Halfway through the show. It's hard to believe. But we've already covered Fox News taking a nosedive, going into third place in the recent Nielsen ratings. And of course, we just talked about the vaccines being like shipped out to pharmacies. But this is our 7th inning stretch. This is the middle of the show. We're going to take a little breather. And we're going to have a laugh. Hopefully we'll have a laugh. I don't think there's any language in this clip, but there might be. So virgin ears, be prepared. If you have virgin ears, maybe you should put on ear condoms. I don't know what that is, but I thought I would say that. Let's just go on.
What's your favorite political take by a comedian?
Sean's in the kitchen making me a peppermint tea in the morning of the EU referendum. He shouts through to me, James! Do you want the bag leaving in? Or taken out? It's too confusing, I don't know what to say. On the one hand, if you leave the tea bag in, then over time the cup of tea as a whole will get stronger. And even though it appears as though the tea bag itself is getting weaker, it is now part of a strong cup of tea. On the other hand, if you take the tea bag out, the cup of tea as a whole is now weaker. The tea bag itself goes directly in the bin.
a not so subtle analysis of a metaphor for Brexit right there. I thought, that's for the Commonwealth people. That's for people over in the UK. That joke over there. I thought it was clever. I thought it was clever. All right. That's okay. So Willie Ignorant knows James Acaster. Very nice. Very nice. Negative God says, I believe in religion control. I was never impregnated with God. Also, God, abortion should be legal. I like that. There's a couple of jokes in there. There's a comedy routine there. I might be able to get I could get maybe 5 minutes out of that. Jesse Bear says, my 90-year-old grandmother can't get an appointment for the vaccine. Wow, that's horrible. Hopefully this gets things moving. Indeed. So yeah, you like that little bit there, James Henry? Yeah, I thought that was a slice of fried magic there. All right. What are we talking about? Steve Bannon, one of our favorite fascists. Steve Bannon. Sure, he was pardoned by Trump for federal crimes, but as all of us know, just because you get pardoned for federal crimes doesn't mean that the states cannot sue you, that the states cannot prosecute you. And that's what this story is about. Finding the story, here we go. Steve Bannon, pardoned by Trump, may now be charged over the same scheme in New York. Oh no, not Steve Bannon, getting charged with a crime that he committed. The Office of Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance has reviewed all 143 of the pardons and commutations issued by former President Donald Trump. I still feel good when I say the words former President Donald Trump. I still feel good. In his final hours in office, and it's weighing whether to bring charges against former Trump strategist Steve Bannon and Ken Gerson, a friend of Jared Kushner's, Trump's son-in-law. The New York Times and Washington Post report. Presidential clemency covers only federal crimes, and both men were pardoned before their cases went to trial, meaning they almost certainly won't be protected by New York State's double jeopardy law. Bannon and the three associates not pardoned by Trump were charged in August with defrauding investors in an enterprise called Build the Wall. Build the Wall. Who would have thought a Trump scheme like Build the Wall would be a con? That there would be funds misappropriated. All right. Bannon was accused of personally receiving more than $1 million of the $25 million raised to build the border wall on private land. All four men pleaded not guilty. Vance's prosecutors have, quote, taken significant steps in their investigation, unquote, of Bannon, the Times reports, including seeking records and requesting to interview at least one potential witness. Vance would have jurisdictions because some of Bannon's alleged victims live in Manhattan. Oh, Steve Bannon, you may not get off the hook for this one. That's a shame. Vance's office has been investigating Trump and his business on tax fraud and other charges since 2019 and is currently awaiting a second Supreme Court ruling on whether it can obtain 8 years of Trump's tax returns. Vance also charged, well, I heard that Donald Trump's just going to release those any day now, just like his healthcare plan, right? Vance also charged another Trump campaign official, Paul Manafort, with mortgage fraud and more than a dozen other state felonies in 2019 before Trump pardoned him, but the case was dismissed on double jeopardy grounds. Vance has appealed that ruling to a higher court, arguing that the lower court misread the law. So since Trump pardoned Bannon, the double jeopardy law does not hold. So that means that Mr. Vance, lawyer Vance, is able to prosecute Steve Bannon because of the pardon. Oh, that's delicious. The idea that Trump pardoned him, so now he can be prosecuted by New York City, by New York State. That's beautiful. That's beautiful right there. That's a little bit of Justice Pie. I'm sorry. I think I snorted there. I love saying former single-term, twice impeached Donald Trump. Yep. If we could only, if Trump does go to prison, it would be nice to have his prisoner number attached to that, like prisoner number, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. Spot on, James Henry. Bannon looks like an alcoholic Marlboro man who hasn't showered or shaved in weeks. Yeah, he looks like a wreck. Steve Bannon always looks like he's either going to have a heart attack, or he's just coming out of the hospital from having a heart attack, or he's coming off a bender, right? Like he's just been drinking for days. And he always has that vibe to him, I think. Oh, God, Negative God says loser 45. That's another nice name for former president, former single-term, twice impeached Donald Trump. Well, that's a bit of sunshine right there, Tim. We talked about this yesterday. At least Trump destroyed the GOP before America fired him. At least Trump is leaving, and Trump's influence is still causing rifts within the GOP. Still causing rifts. There's still that civil war that we talked about yesterday between Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia. There's still this conflict going on due to Trump, due to his continuing influence on the Republican Party. Oh, yeah. So, we will be seeing Steve Bannon being sued by New York. We'll be seeing, of course, we talked about this the other day, about Rudy Giuliani being sued for $1.3 billion by those who made Dominion voting machines. We will remember this, ladies and gentlemen, small furry animals, as the halcyon age of lawsuits against fascists. At some point, when we're all older and have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, we'll bring out our scrapbooks and say, see, these were all the news articles I clipped from the golden age of lawsuits against fascists right here. Oh, yeah, well, this is true. There is unequal justice in this country. I wouldn't get any satisfaction even if they went to prison. Jesse Bear says they would likely go to a cushy one because of money. Yeah, I don't think Steve Bannon is going to be in the yard with the Crips and the Bloods or anything like that if he goes to prison. Oh, I like that. Negative God. Margarine-brained Green. Republican from Georgia. Yep. All right. Last story. Oh, this is the priest story I was talking about. Yeah, priests are in the news. It turns out people are losing faith in priests. I wonder why. There's a new study out. Let's check it out. Trust in pastors remains near record low Gallup. And yeah, believe it or not, this is from the Christian Post. The Christian Post, this lovely little article. Trust in pastors remains near record low. Links are down below if you want to see the whole study, if you want to see any of these articles in their entirety. Let's take a look at how people just don't trust, or unlikely, a majority of people just don't trust priests. Public trust in American clergy remained near record lows in 2020, according to a survey released by Gallup. Lifeway Research, a publication arm of the Southern Baptist, has analyzed the findings of Gallup's annual ratings of the honesty and ethical standards of profession since 1985, the most recent installment of which was released in December 22nd in 2020. One of the groups the respondents are asked to rate the honesty and ethical standards of is clergy. Clergy. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the numbers look very good for secularists. Very good for us. The clergy was just one group of professionals the American people were asked to rate for their public perception of honesty in 2020. While only 39% of Americans agreed that the clergy had high levels of honesty and ethical standards, once again, only 39% of Americans believe clergy have high ethical standards. I think that number is awfully high, but it still makes me feel good knowing how our country is here in the States, that only 39% of our fellow Americans think the clergy have high ethical standards. While only 39% of Americans agreed that the clergy had high levels of honesty and ethical standards, several groups were pegged as less honest than priests and pastors. Nursing home operators, 36%, bankers, 29%, journalists, 28%. Journalists are less honest and have less ethical standards than, I don't agree with that whatsoever. Business executives, 17%. No, I'm with that. Lawyers are 21%. Only 21% of Americans consider lawyers to have high ethical standards. That number seems awfully high. Advertising practitioners, 10%. Yeah, that seems right, 10%. Car salespeople, and at the bottom, people consider members of Congress to be equal with car salesmen in terms of high ethical standards. I just want to say that the highest group, and you can check out the link in the description for the whole site, the people at the highest end who are considered to be ethical, to have high ethical standards, are nurses. Nurses are considered to be one of the most trustworthy professions, unlike priests and pastors. So priests and pastors are just barely above nursing home operators, and basically are lumped in with a bunch of rather squirrely. They're only 10 points higher than bankers, and somehow bankers. And I don't understand how journalists only get 28%. I think it's probably because of the war on journalism and on facts, that only 28% of Americans trust journalists. But wait, there's more. So 39%. I bet what you're asking yourselves, everyone. 39%. How? Give us some perspective. Give us some perspective on how it looks historically. Has it been a nosedive of public trust in priests and pastors? Has it been a nosedive? Well, I'm glad you asked. The clergy enjoyed the confidence of the majority of the American public for the better part of 30 years, with a record high of 67% of Americans believing religious leaders had high honesty and ethical standards in 1988. We were very stupid in 1988. I just want to let you know that. Stupid. I mean, yeah, we're idiotic now, don't get me wrong. But back then, 67% of Americans believed pastors and priests had high honesty and ethical standards. So what do we have to thank for this nosedive of public trust with priests and pastors? Well, before we talk about the obvious thing, which is the priest pedophile scandal, right? The sex abuse scandal by the Catholic Church and the subsequent, covering up of that, which came to light. We do have Donald J. Trump and the evangelicals. If anyone has salted the earth of public opinion concerning religious leaders, it's religious leaders. The misconduct of religious leaders, of prominent religious leaders, and many of them just being wed to Donald J. Trump, just being wed to him has helped the public realize that priests and pastors, you can't trust them. You can't trust them. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. Simply secular. I bet 50% of U.S. citizens think journalists are people who keep journals. Well played. Well played, Simply Secular. Yay, nurses, right? Yes, one of the most trusted professions here in the States, nurses. Here it is. What astounds me about Britain is many people consider Nigel Farage trustworthy. Yeah, it's people, man. People don't trust priests. Oh, the link gave you. Okay, so I'll fix that later on. It was a Christian Post article yeah. So the name of the piece, I'll just go back and show the name of the piece. The trust in pastors remains near record low, Gallup, and that's in the Christian Post. So if you Google that name, I won't be able to get to, of course, correct the link until after the show's over. But yes, it was at 67% in 1988, and now at 39%. The lowest, I believe, if I recall the numbers, probably was 37%. So it's been hovering in the mid to high 30s over the last few years. This is interesting. They should do that survey on your clergy versus everyone else's clergy. And you know what? That you raise that comment has a lot of insight to it, because I bet it would be similar to how people view politicians too. It's like, my politician from my district is okay. It's just other people's politicians from other districts, from other states, they're the problem. My minister, my pastor, my priest, they're okay, but it's all the other ones that's the problem. I think that's true. Brainbug. I would trust journalists. Oh, yeah, journalists. Yeah, of course, I would trust journalists over clergy. Definitely. And of course, Critical Cripple states what we were just talking about. People trust their politician, but the rest are corrupt, right? And that's the thing. That's the problem with our bad brains that we have, right? Is that it's difficult for us as a species to abstract. We only know the thing that's in front of us, and our brains are evolved on the savannah and not for crunching numbers and for statistics and for looking at the big picture. So people are much more likely to be focused on their politician, their priest, their minister, and not look at the institutional wide problems. Critical Cripple, they are rating clergy in general. Simply Secular says, we've gone from a time when covering your home in tinfoil and buying into conspiracy theories would get you institutionalized to a time that will make you a political player in the far right. Oh, yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene's a classic example of that. She's in the Education Committee in the House, even though she said that school shootings aren't real. We have someone like Betty DeVos, who couldn't even answer basic questions. Couldn't even answer basic questions about education. But she was in charge of the Department of Education during the Trump era. Yeah. Well, common sense is in short supply, and one of the problems, of course, at least here, once again in the States, is that the hollowing out of the education system and the underfunding of public schools. When you have underfunding of public schools, gunk in, gunk out. That's what engineers say, right? You put gunk into the system, then you're going to get gunk out of the system. I have a 15-year-old daughter. They are in high school, and I think she has learned more about logical fallacies and critical thinking here at home than in school. And I don't think I'm being hyperbolic about that. I don't think I am. All right. So good news, a lot of good news, right? So we had Fox News suffering. Yay, suffering of Fox News, third in the latest Nielsen ratings. We had Biden shipping out vaccines starting February 11th. Starting February 11th, there'll be vaccines available in local pharmacies. We had Steve Bannon probably going to get charged by New York, by, I believe his name is Cy Vance, charged about the stealing $1 million from the fund that was supposed to build the wall. And the last one is that priests and pastors not really as trusted as they were just a few decades ago. And to tell you the truth, this gives me hope. In my lifetime, I've seen marijuana legalized in many places. I've seen gay marriage legalized. Hopefully, possibly, the Democrats or civilization here in the States will be able to deal with Christian fascism. Hopefully, we'll be able to put a stake through Christian fascism, through the heart, through the Jesus heart of Christian fascism, because that's what we need to do. Oh, the Amway family. Simply Secular says, I believe that Betsy DeVos, part of the Amway family, is one of the worst people alive today. She is, yeah. She just doesn't speak out like the Sidney Powells or the Marjorie Taylor Greens do. Yeah, true enough. Yeah, Betsy DeVos seems to be more content with undermining democracy quietly. You're right, James Henry. It was a joke up until, I remember Dave Chappelle riffing on that during his show about never seeing a black president. And so, there is hope. Of course, I never thought that we'd be this close to that we were ever going to be this close to fascism either, just within the last year or two. So it is, like I've said before, the pendulum has swung wildly. The country can't keep doing that. It's just not a viable system for the pendulum to go swinging back and forth every 4 to 8 years. It's either going to be all of one thing or all of the other. But good news today. All right, I'm going to do something funny. I'm going to show you a funny clip before we tie things up. I'll be back.
I'm always having an inner monologue inside my head. It makes it hard to pay attention to what you said.
I'm going to show that again in case you missed it. I'm going to show it again in case you missed it. It was really fast clip.
I'm always having an inner monologue inside my head. It makes it hard to pay attention to what you said.
For me, that's truth. You can ask my kids, my girlfriend. I think part of it is that I'm trying to think of something funny, or I'm being distracted. I'm working on things internally, and sure, I will pay attention when I really need to pay attention. But a lot of the times in just everyday flotsam jetsam conversation, I'm like, did we talk about this already? Show funny clip. Funny clip shown. Just leveled up until we put more education, Jesse Beer says. Yeah, until we put more money into education and regulate homeschooling, we won't get rid of fundamentalism. You're right about that. We cannot allow these green zones for fundamentalists in the country. We can't allow them these. It's just like a virus. They are, Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity, or any of the other fundamentalisms, faith-based fundamentalisms. They're like viruses. If you leave them alone without trying to deal with them, they will just germinate. They will just spread. It's just like Pakistan. It's just like Alabama. You allow these religious fundamentalists to have no oversight whatsoever, and we will all suffer for it over time. Oh, this is interesting, Marmaduke Scarlet. Yes. What about people who do not have an inner monologue? This is true. There are people who do not have an internal voice. We have talked about this before. It still astonishes me that there are people who don't hear their own voice while they're reading. I always hear my own voice when I'm reading. It astounds me that when composers compose music, they don't actually hear the music that they're composing. Yeah, that's true. Dale McGowan came on my show, came on the channel. He's a composer. He teaches music on a collegiate level. And he's like, yeah, Andy, when you get to a certain level, you don't actually hear the music when you're composing. So there are people a lot of people don't hear themselves when they read. Composers don't hear the music when they compose. And there are people who do not have an inner monologue at all. They just do not have them. And thank you for giving the like. So my mind stays blank, says Dr. Mordecai. Very nice. I am going to be doing my meditative, reflective Jenga show. Is that it? I don't know. At 3 o'clock, I'm going to be streaming again. I had a lot of fun yesterday. We talked about a variety of pretty cool topics, to tell you the truth, while I was working with my non-dominant hand on the Jenga, on Jenga-ing? I guess I'm gerunding with the Jenga-ing. So I'm going to be doing that at 3 p.m. today. You're all welcome to come in to chat. It's pretty much an open discussion. We have an open discussion basically as I'm building stuff up and tearing it down. So hopefully I'll see you at 3. If nothing else, we're doing the whole thing tomorrow. The whole thing tomorrow at 9 a.m. New news stories, new clips, new memes, nothing but fun. Thanks for showing up, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all the patrons out there. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go back to work and work on in the acid mines of comedy. I'm about to publish a new comedy piece on the Pathos blog on Laughing and Disbelief. It's a new satirical piece. And so I'm off. Take care. Be good. Be strong. Bye. I'm going to strike the epic pose now, just like Police Academy.